What's going on, everybody? My name's Tyler. This is not Sean. I actually had a really cool intro planned for it. I was really trying to crunch it in. That's why we're a couple minutes late, so I do apologize about that. But this is Jason. He is actually the developer of Drop-In. If you guys haven't heard of it, which I'm sure you have if you've hung around, because he literally throws keys in chat, almost every time we're live, I think, for his game. So thanks for joining us, Jason. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? Because you've been a sole developer, correct, of Drop-In? You've had some help, I know.
That's right. So SDK1, I think that's as far back as I go with messing around with development, as far as VR. And I want to say I got started in actual game development with Unreal Tournament and like Quake mods. I think everybody starts out somewhere up in that era, messing around with like skins and maps and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've been gaming since the Intellivision. Believe it or not, I had an Intellivision before
There you
Atari.
go, yeah. I was getting people are saying they were hearing double audio, but somebody else said no echo, so I was just double checking. Huh. Interesting. All right. Yeah. If anybody else hears that, let me know. I actually haven't streamed in a while, so I had to reset everything back up and stuff. So do let us know if there's any audio issues or anything like that. I don't think there was. I did some pre-checks and we were up pretty late last night actually testing stuff out, and we got into discussions and stuff and had to stop because it's hard. It's really hard to not sit there and want to talk. But yeah, I mean, you do a ton of. Let's see, what are you on now? You develop with a Vive Pro. Is that what you develop on now?
Yes, correct. So initially, I started on a DK1, and of course, I got my DK2 in like day one, right? So I was super hyped about it. And we've come so far from that original time
Oh
frame,
yeah,
right? And so we didn't have motion controllers back then, so everything I did was on the Razer Hydras.
sure.
So there's a guy, he released Half-Life 2 mod using the Razer Hydras with the DK2, and it took a really long time for them to get that mod working with the modern HMDs. So, um, HTC released the Vive, and motion tracking was a thing, right? Like full room scale.
Yep.
So I jumped onto that because I knew that that was the direction I was gonna eventually want to
Develop
head.
for
Yeah,
sure. Oh yeah,
exactly. And but I won't lie. I was a huge Palmer Lucky fanboy.
sure.
Like I was, oh dude, the touch controllers, yeah, it's huge.
I mean, touch
So
controllers are still amazing. Like, think how
yeah,
far those really go back, what I mean, for track controllers. And they are still, I still think they probably are the best controller. And
yeah,
I know
yeah.
the iterations, between the originals and now, but they're not that big of a difference. The feel of them is, I still, I use the index controllers, but I don't know,
hmm
man. They just don't compare. They don't have those ergonomics, that the lower end
yeah.
has.
I have to
It's
agree
crazy.
with you. So I develop on the Vive, and I went to the Vive Pro. The Pro strap was a big influencer of that. The flip up design, the comfort, right? So I have I don't know
Right,
that
right.
exact model or make, but I have the leather faceplate, the leather face covering, and then
Sure.
it has the back pad that's kind of like that
Like the
pushes
VR
on the back.
cover, the
Correct.
pleather stuff. Yeah.
And so the leather is great, and I don't even think it's like genuine leather, but it's
Right.
it's it's great. So it's comfortable to rest on my head, and I can pull it up and down a lot when I work with it. So that
Yeah.
was the move there, and then of course the display, the resolution is just so much better than the OG Vive.
So
So
okay, I was joking with you though last time, but why don't you get a Cosmos? What keeps you from the Cosmos? I mean, it has,
oh,
some of those benefits and stuff, You can get the nice audio strap and all that. So,
for anyone who has a Cosmos, don't take this as a knock. I
they're
think
used to
that
it.
I think I think that your entry point into VR, no matter what it is it's an invigorating and kind of liberating thing, right? If you're a flat gamer and you love gaming and you stepped into VR, I don't care if it's like an Acer or WMR, right? Um, I think that's a great first leap. But out of all of the headsets that I've tried personally, the Cosmos is to me, and I mean, this even when I try to do parallels between the PSVR and the
Sure,
Cosmos,
sure.
uh, to me, I think that the Cosmos doesn't hold like it has a hard time controller tracking even when compared to
Oh yeah,
the PlayStation
right.
controllers, and that is sad for a PC VR headset.
True.
That's sad.
It is,
You
especially for, when it's coming out, and it's not superior to backdated stuff, you know what I mean? So you need to have progression in that, not a step backwards, but
That's right. That's
I
right.
get it. I mean, I don't get it actually. I mean, I can't say I do, but it is what it is, and they did make improvements, but it's still not there, and that's kind of the sad part, but
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had a
anyways.
chance to check it out since they did the latest driver
Right.
upgrade, It
Yeah.
was more of like I got my hands on one. I went to a trade show. I was actually in Texas. They had a few sitting up there, little demo units or whatever. But
Yep.
um, and honestly speaking, I'm working on two games. I'm working on Data Night and I'm working on Drop In. Um, and Data Night is like this, it's my learning project. So it's
Sure.
like everyone has one that they tuck away, they started on. It's like a passion thing, and you learn a lot from it. And you have a community, and you have mass appeal games, and then you have niche things. And Data Night is very niche, and it is what it is. I know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but across both games, I think we're approaching like 1,000 community members, right?
Nice. Yeah.
And out of all of them, I have no Cosmos. Like for everyone who's
Right.
ever, yeah, for everyone who's ever key requested, for all of the
Oh man.
alpha testing requests
None.
and beta testing requests, I have literally
I
none.
just don't
Not
see, unless somebody's new coming in and thinks that it's the best new thing from HTC. I feel like that's the only way. If you've ever used anything else, or to compare to it or know anything, I just don't feel like that you would buy it. But I'm sure there's people that will. Um,
now if HTC is listening, if you want to sell that headset, uh, you know, underprice the Galaxy.
right,
If
right,
you
sure.
want, if you want to sell that headset, underprice the Galaxy.
I mean, I
It's a
think they
great,
need to. I think I have to
yeah,
underprice it
yeah.
at this point. I mean, it's not selling, so price gouge it. Sell it for what
Hmm.
it's worth, and at least get it out there. At least get their
That's
name
right.
out there. Keep them in that ecosystem. But yeah, I
If
don't.
they would lower the price of the HMD, it would allow people to adopt the Steam ecosystem with the Steam faceplate
Sure.
and honestly, the modular design, like, I love the flip up thing, but
Right. Right.
I don't like the gap between the face. But
Right. Yeah. The bleed
The
through. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yep. I know.
I mean the Quest has that and it's
Right.
tolerable, so I can't really hate on that part too much. But if they price down the HMD and they
Right. True.
allow people to get into that market in a competitive way to where they have now this modular designed headset, I
Right.
think that area is great.
That's the stuff that I liked about it, when
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
releasing, but they really haven't done a whole lot with it. I mean, yeah, they have their different faceplates and stuff, but past that, I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I don't. I hope they bring the price down. I think it might stand a chance for them. I really do. So speaking of modular, have you seen what's been going on with the VR ears, which is on Kickstarter? So if you guys don't know about it, we have talked about it before. They did just end their Kickstarter though, and they ended their last goal that they pushed out was 200,000, right? So if they hit the 200,000 mark, it was going to be 20% off all accessories, or I think it was 20 or 30%, one or the other. They ended at $199,490. They were $510 short of making their 200,000 goal, which kind of sucks. I mean, for anybody who's backed it, which I'm one of them. Um, but I don't know. Maybe they'll still honor it. I mean, come on, $500. I mean, it's right there. They better.
You you know what this reminds me of is when Pimax came like real short of their goal.
Right, right,
You
right,
remember
right.
that?
They
So
stepped
it
up,
was
didn't they?
yeah,
Yeah,
it was nothing for them to be like,
right.
we're still doing this.
Yeah, I mean, you're close
So
enough, right?
yeah,
I mean, if they were happy with that, I'm sure they're happy with five headsets less, or five, I don't
correct.
know. But
And
what do
look
you,
at them now. They took off
oh,
like
yeah,
that,
absolutely.
like look at them now. Like
They have.
you know, I'm a like,
Are you a
when people
fanboy?
oh, yeah.
Are you? Okay,
Like
okay.
so I love the idea that they have entry level headsets that
Sure.
are highly competitive with any of the WMR entry level stuff.
Right.
And then you're instantly in the Steam ecosystem, and then
Yep.
they're looking at you know, ways to give you a Knuckles experience, but not, to compete in that
Right.
space
Agreed.
with a very competitive price. So,
Well, what it
uh,
surprises me with them is where their price point is for a small company. Because a lot of times, and I know they had a lot of funding and stuff through Kickstarter, but you're talking they are competitive now with Oculus. I mean, that's
right,
huge. HTC,
right,
who's been doing this for a long time, Valve, who's been doing this now for a long time. So that's impressive to see. Now, there are a lot of people who don't agree with maybe some of their tactics, or their headsets or how they work things. And I agree. For a while, their marketing was down the tubes. But I have my 5K plus, and it's a great headset. I mean, I love it for racing sims. It's an experience that I put people in, and they go, "Holy crap! Like, this is incredible." So it's kind of a fun thing, but I still want that 8K, man. I just need the higher resolution. It's too big. The screens are too
correct.
big, lenses are too big. You need that higher resolution, and I feel that's where the next step is. And if anybody hasn't noticed, Sean is actually giving away codes in chat, so I highly recommend, if you're not watching chat, to keep an eye out.
That's right.
He's just throwing codes out. I think he said he had about a bucket full of codes
We
he was hoping to give out.
we swapped roles today.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, you're usually the one giving out codes and
That's
stuff.
right.
Seriously. Yeah, I'm not used to watching Sean in chat. I know he's probably going freaking crazy. Um, but yeah, it's kind of how it goes. But actually, we have a somebody on our Discord, T Dub, of all people, gave us a code to Final Assault. So this is from him. So thanks to T Dub again. Again, he's over on our Discord, and everyone probably knows him from there, and in chat as well. But really appreciate that, and I'm sure somebody will grab that one too. Um, yeah, it's kind of a giveaway day. It ended up. It wasn't really supposed to be, but that's how it goes. Sorry for anybody listening, because you are screwed. Okay. Anyways, next one is Silicon Valley. I'm sorry, Silicon Rising. Do you remember us showing this before? It was kind of like a teleport shooter deal. Really cool, really interesting concept, story driven single player. They actually came out with an update for their game that is free locomotion. So if you have this, got it then and thought, yeah, okay, I wish I could move around and stuff, now you can. I'm not sure the current price of this, but I don't think it was too expensive. Did you? You probably never got to try this one, did you?
I did not, but I did watch the episode, and I have watched other footage of it. But
Yeah.
they kind of pulled a Alex, right? So
Yeah,
it
right.
came out, wasn't too long.
Yep.
People, because Alex was like, "Hey, we want a smooth turn," right? So I do know it was a big thing. A lot of people
Hmm.
were like, "I want to be able to move around freely. What's
Well,
the deal?"
but that's it. Everybody, consumer wise, thinks it's easy. Like it's no problem to just implement free locomotion in the game, which maybe the controls and movement stuff, okay, not that big a deal. But when they designed this game, because it was a long, I think 2016 or so, they started this game. Your maps, and you can relate to this, aren't designed for free locomotion.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you start to see things that people shouldn't see and stuff, and outside the maps and textures don't line up right and stuff.
correct.
So it becomes a lot of work, doesn't it? I'm sure.
It does. And here's the thing, like if you want to have a direct comparison to that, um, look at Alex whenever they released their very first teaser video and all they had was teleportation.
Right.
And they
Oh
came
yeah.
out and they openly admitted like we were not designing the game around free locomotion at
At
all,
all.
right?
Right. At all.
And the community pushed back pretty hard. And when you think about it, Valve, you know, they don't have a lack of resources to come like to call in and help with that
Oh,
kind of a thing. And
right.
it still took them months
Yep.
to get that game ready for free locomotion. So
Yeah.
yeah, you whenever you're designing something and something like locomotion where you're able to put your HMD, what you're able to see, um, there's a lot of shortcuts initially that you don't trouble yourself with to go back and be like, this is a concern because in
Right.
your mind you're like, that's wasted time and effort for me to put
Sure,
time to
because it
that.
is a lot of time. You could be
Right,
putting that into furthering your game or bettering things that more relevant to what's out even at the time. So it
correct.
is hard. That's yeah, I get that, but I'm surprised though. I mean, at least they're trying to keep up with the times, and that's huge in VR because that really changes a lot. Kind of changes by the month. I feel like when something comes out, everyone's like, "Oh, now we need to implement this, and now we need to implement this." It's kind of run you rampant. Um, so the other cool thing that kind of happened this week is we actually got sent a video from you. Um, and I'm not plugging this because you're on the show. I'm plugging it because this is amazing. But you have actually added trampolines now to drop in.
That's right. Yeah,
uh,
so
God,
it
I
started
can't.
it started actually with the asset, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um my wife and my kids give me a lot of inspiration. So
Sure.
huge shout out to them. My both of my boys will be over my shoulder begging me to play, going, "Hey dad, this would be cool." Um so you know, the asset pack that I'm working with, which has expedited the development process. You do not understand how much smoother things go when you're able to just pick an art direction and run with it.
Right.
Um, so I saw the trampoline, and my oldest son goes, "I've never seen anybody do trampolines in VR." And I said, "You know what? You're right." And I was like, jumping in VR at one time, they didn't think that mixed. And
Oh,
but the
right.
last game session you and Sean were in, you were like, it would be really nice if something like, flung you or projected
Yep.
you or gave you a lot of air, right? And so I ran across that asset and I'm like, I wonder if I can technically come up with the mechanics to be able to simulate being on a trampoline.
Sure.
So and then once I did it and I got feedback from my community and of course huge shout out to UE4 VR expansion guys. It's called the VRE plugin. That's part of the development package that I use with UE4. Uh, his name is Morton Trail. He has a Patreon. Shout out to him. So you
That's
guys,
cool.
if you're devs, look into that.
Huh.
But anyway, so immediately when I was sending out like different revisions of the trailer and stuff, um, even Tim, the guy's working with me on drop in, was like, you need to put the trampoline at the very beginning because that is such a standout kind of new thing.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and it's gonna intrigue people. People are gonna be like, man, I wonder what that is like jumping on a trampoline in
Right.
VRs.
And it honestly, we just love be able to get up to things, get height vertically. I mean, it just changes, and you see, I mean, it's just the concept is cool. And I can't believe people that are afraid of it. And there are people that don't want, or makes them sick. And I understand it, but you just got to get past it because those experiences are so freaking cool. I mean, it's just really cool. And you said you might be working on a double bounce?
Yes, yes. So currently right now it captures your downward velocity and then it caps that. So it never surpasses a certain amount. Kind of like whenever
Sure.
you push as hard as you can on a trampoline, you pass your downward velocity and then it springs you, right? But you
I
reach a
can't.
point where you can't exceed. So it right now it's capped. But if two people are doing it, um, I want to have a form of memory in the actual mechanics so that half of the velocity projected by an individual based on the time will pass into the other person. So I'd like to be able to get a double bounce
Right.
mechanism fully
Oh my
functional.
gosh.
And I have like an alpha build of that I've been messing around with. But there's
It's
an edge
amazing.
case where, and I have to play with the capped limits on the velocity, because there's an edge case where, my wife launched me into the moon. Like, it
Sure,
was,
right. Endlessly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. It might be fun too though. You never know.
yeah, that's right, that's right. And see,
Oh
I
man.
will tell you that, like, when I first started developing games, when I first started messing around with VR, in a flat game, like, you're we've been conditioned over decades and decades of being told, like, this is what gaming is. It's very uh linear, and
Sure.
they hold your hand, and
Right, right.
there's a rule set that thou shall not break this rule set. But I'm telling you that for the first time ever, and it's kind of taken a bit for me to uncondition myself to that. Um, and the market will tell you this. All you have to really do is open your eyes. If you look at Pavlov, and you look at VR chat, and you look at Rec Room, and you look at all of these things that are blowing up all over Reddit and Twitch and social media, for the first time, we have a medium, a gaming medium, that is telling us that it's not about how beautiful your game is anymore.
Right.
It's not about the rule set that you give them.
I agree.
Um, the most popular mode right now in Pavlov, I would argue, is not the predetermined handheld, these are the rule modes.
Right.
It's Trouble in Terrorist Town. It's
Yeah.
the ones where people can jump in and kind of make their own little method of play, or run away with
Yep.
the tad bit of freedom you give them, just a tad. Like,
Mhm.
if they have the inkling of a little bit of freedom, um, they run with that. And I remember alpha testing drop in with you guys, and sorry about that controller, by the way. But I remember
That was bad,
crying in
man.
my headset
Oh my
because of
god, I know.
how funny it was. And and a lot of that was us exploiting the
It's all
fact that
right.
there was no match
Well,
timers, there was no limits on where we could go. There was,
absolutely.
and whenever you playtest enough, and your left brain's going, "Hey, I have to give people rules, and I have to develop a predetermined game mode, and I have to, hold their hands through this experience." But then your right brain's going, every
But what
experience
if
I've
or
every experience I've ever had a blast in, laughed my rear end off,
yep,
really enjoyed throughout both of the games I've been working on, and
I know.
even what's out on the current market right now, this is where they shine in this medium.
Yep.
Something has to click eventually, and then you have to realize, okay, uh, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. So, early in, drop-in started out as a battle royale. Like, that was the milestone we wanted to hit. Um, and it's just, both my kids, my wife, everyone who's play tested, alpha tested, it migrated and kind of molded into what it is, due to the community and due to the market speaking to me and being like, this is what we want to support. This is what we really like. This is what we really
Well,
enjoy.
I
So,
think for like Sean and I, it's honestly the our favorite games of all times that we've played on flat VR are games that we can break. Like games that are intentionally don't allow you places or things to do, and we do because we enjoy that because we are like the only ones that got to experience that of this game, you know. And I, for some reason, I always correlate those favorite games of my past to those, and good multiplayer experiences and stuff like that. But it really goes to show that, you know, just being able to do whatever you want is a lot of what VR is about. You know, it's that
that's
freedom, and
right.
that's what VR gives you. So to encompass that in a game, I feel like is the best thing that anybody could be doing. I really do. And no, I'm not saying like, you know, story driven stuff and single player and all. It's that's great as well. It's just
Correct.
different. You know, that's
Correct.
all. But
Yeah.
yep,
And we have tons of milestone stones that, uh goals that we're reaching for on the mission side, and
yep,
the cooperative play
sure.
and
So you have it
deathmatch and
all
all that. Yeah.
basically. Yeah, you've got something
But
for everybody.
yeah,
That's
the
cool.
kitchen sink is what makes it, like,
Hmm.
that liberating
Makes it the
experience
best,
of
man.
seeing something.
Yep,
Yeah,
it
that's right.
does. It does. All right, so I want to get into something that turned into a controversial topic for you and I last night, and maybe not for everybody. Let's go to the pictures here. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but this Facebook Horizon
Oh,
leak, man.
oh,
Like, I, at first I'm like, oh, cool, we get to see some images of it. And then I'm like, I really wish I hadn't have probably seen this because I feel like this destroyed my dreams for what Horizon could be. What
oh,
do you think, man? I mean,
I'm
I
so
don't get me
sad.
wrong, it's cool. It's cool to see, but when I really look at this in detail, yeah, it hurts, man.
Yeah. I don't even know what to
I know.
say,
It's just
honestly.
I'm not hating on it, but like we already have and don't get me wrong, I know it's going to be animated like this. We knew that from the previews and stuff. But even what they showed at Oculus Connect, I feel like looked like it would be better than this, even though it wasn't gameplay, it was just the animations. But I just feel like this is so flat, don't you?
Yes, so I'm hoping it's early assets. I'm hoping that there's just squares and you know, single texture, uh, very, very simple lit stuff in here. I
Right.
hope
For
this is
testing
just,
purposes
yes,
or it's a quest build maybe. I don't,
yeah.
maybe that's their limitation. I mean, who knows?
But come on, have
I
you played
know.
Red Matter on the Quest? Like,
Right. We say
come
that
on,
all the
like
time.
this, yeah,
I know.
this is. I mean, if it wasn't for, the higher resolution, one could argue like this is pre PS1 type stuff.
I
Like,
know.
so
Well,
it's
and maybe
yeah.
maybe I'm nitpicking. I see chat, gaming science teacher says, "What were you expecting?" You saw the trailers, and I did. I expected a little bit more. Like, and I'm not saying like, okay, just ignore the people in this image, right? So the people actually look good. If everything looked like that, I'd be great with it.
Yes.
But if you look at all the other assets, so like the tables and the ground and the fences and stuff, they are just super flat. I mean, a little bit maybe of reflective, surface to them, but that's it. I don't know. I feel like there could have been more, and maybe this is early. We could just be surmising, but I don't know. I don't. It just takes me back a little bit where I feel like it could or should be to me, but I don't know.
I was so
I know.
excited about this, the concept of this, and I'm, say what you will, but I've spent my fair share of time in Rec Room.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, Phil Yarn just said Alt Space Horizons, and yeah, like
Correct,
Rec Room, I
correct.
feel like looks better than this, even in their worlds and
It
stuff.
does, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's a step backwards. I don't know. I'm not. I know, and some people like it. Chatty says he likes the image of Horizon, and I get it, but I don't know something about this, man. I was just hoping for greatness from some of the first things we got, is all, and to make it kind of like everybody wanted this.
And there's a lot of things that could be missing here. Like
Sure, there could be.
there isn't a lot of ambient inclusion in.
Yep,
I know they have the ability to bake out lightings and kind of fake some of their shadows. It's it looks to me like if I was to go into editor when I'm working on something and I'm like I want to be able to see what I'm working on a little bit easier, there's an unlit mode that you can kick the editor into that
sure,
takes away a lot of
all
the,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
for faster
So
building and stuff and
correct.
testing. Yeah,
Correct. So I'm wondering if maybe that's it. But the other thing is that
I don't know, man. This is a
um,
live build. Well, I mean, not that could be a live build too, but
here's the
I
other
mean,
thing. Mr. Zuckerberg is not an idiot.
right?
And how do you surprise people? You set the bar really low,
True,
and then you're
very
like,
true.
here's what I really have.
Right. It gets people
So
talking, free marketing at a point, whether it be good or bad. It's not a final
correct.
product anyway. So I know, I get it. Yeah, yeah, Mepper said, where are the textures? Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Right.
none, my friend.
There aren't.
There are none.
Nope.
It is solid colors.
Just about. Yep. The hair,
A, l-
maybe. Right.
a little, yeah, exactly. And those aren't really textures; those are gradients. So
Hmm.
you're looking, so
Right.
you have a little bit of specular map on the characters. It looks like, and
Yeah.
the lack of a sky spear really threw me off because
Yeah.
the video and the imagery that they showed at what was it, OC6,
Yeah. It had
OC7?
clouds and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, all that.
exactly,
I know.
exactly. It was
Which,
beautiful,
but,
you
and
know.
that's not a hard thing to do. I mean, Really?
No.
I mean, come on. It's
Look at
not that cost. I mean,
yeah. There's
yeah,
so
no.
many games that have very beautiful skies in
Yep.
them. Um,
I when I made the map for Pavlov, I actually put a sky that was like a sunset in one of them, the warehouse, and it was like a dusk sunset feel, you know, and even the lighting was like low and stuff. It looked better than this, and I was doing that. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know, just where we're at
yeah,
with this. That's all I'm saying. That's
I'm
that's it.
hoping this is like to try to see what they're like
True. The
what we
feel is
talked about last night, the bare kind of the base. I'm hoping this is like, this is what we know we can shove the most assets into running
sure.
on Quest.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I
I
hope
know.
that's what this is. And maybe they'll have like a Rift build that they run for the PC users, and then they'll have a Quest build
Right.
so
Well, sure. Yeah.
hopefully, you know, hopefully it'll progress with time and get better.
Sure.
The thing that concerns me is the Quest does have like that very narrow draw call limit
Right.
on it, and I know that they're doing a lot of like user created stuff, and VR chat suffers from this as well because um, users are able to spawn objects, and the more characters and the more objects you spawn, you start hitting that draw call limitation.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Maxing it
so
out. Yeah.
correct, and
Yep.
they've done a great job lately. That they went in and they've done things to like actually create a peak, so you can't just like crash a room
Cross it.
anymore.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we have a couple games too to talk about. Why don't we head over to the theater here? So one of the ones we've been really curious about this week, and I don't know, I talked to you a little bit about it last night too. It's called The Line, which was a project. Let me get some audio to this, maybe too, if it's not too loud for you guys.
You ever felt like you were living in a ceaseless repetition?
If something's too loud, just let me know, chat. But this game looks really interesting. I like these little micro world games, kind of like Moss. I don't know if you've ever played that, where you're kind of like looking down on it. Oh, there's a bunch of games like that.
In a world of miniatures,
I'll shut up for a minute.
routine is everything.
The game gets dark a little bit.
My wife loves these kind of games.
Exactly. Yep.
Everything is just the same, just like it has always been. Until it's not.
Looks good though. I do like these though. So like for me, normally these aren't types of games that I would like reach out and want to play. But then when I find myself playing them, I'm stuck in there.
Oh man, what was the other game that did that to me? I think it's called
You ever
Tethered.
felt like you were living
I think
in
it's Tethered.
ceaseless repetition?
Huh. Could
Yeah,
be.
yeah. So in Tethered, I don't know if you guys like this is going way back. It's showing my
Sure.
age, so forgive me. But there was this era of the Microsoft gaming zone and this game called Age of Empires. Um,
Oh yeah, I used to play a
I,
ton of that.
so you're kind of like it's RTS, but you're kind of it's almost like black and white where you're kind of God overseeing like
Sure.
this
Yep.
what
World.
you're yeah, kind of like a shout out to Epic. Civilization went out free yesterday, by the way, on
Oh,
Epic Store. So
that's cool.
if you weren't aware, go
Wow, yeah.
grab that. um so Tethered is kind of like that. Like they go chop wood, they collect stone. It's kind of like that build up
Right.
strategy type
Right.
game.
Sure.
And I just stumbled across it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like playing this in VR. But honestly speaking, like I don't know why Microsoft hasn't made a VR version of Age, because I would be in that thing like every day now
I
that
know.
I've given that a chance.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, you can like look down, like get close to the table. I mean, I know there are already a bunch of games like that and stuff now,
there's so
but
many
that
ease of
scale
use mechanics. Like you can literally draw the circle
sure.
around the dude. Like
Or a path.
like
Like,
yeah,
oh
and
man, yeah.
and there's no better mouse emulation than VR pointers. Like when you're in there, it feels so natural. So like,
Sure.
man, who who has the resources that we know of, like World of Warcraft producers and creators, maybe.
Right.
So it's like I'm asking myself, like, why not, guys?
Hmm.
Come on, like,
Yeah, I know. Why not
they
try stuff, at a
they
point?
start they started their entire career in strategy gaming before they went to World of Warcraft,
Sure.
and the medium is there now for them to jump into that space and just do something killer with it.
Yeah, I know. Well, so the line, before we get too far away from it, does come out on the 28th. So this month, 28th, which is like a week from now, not even. And it is on Quest. And again, these are the kinds of games that I actually want to play on Quest. I probably wouldn't play this on PC, actually. I like to sit on my couch and play this style of games. So this one I might have to play. I don't know. I like odd games like that. Fluke Rogi in chat said diorama style game that's actually about a diorama.
That's right.
So I get it. And again, Sean, thank you for the codes, man. I don't know why I'm really thanking him, but geez, he's not stopping. I don't know how many codes he has to give away.
You guys might
Electronauts.
be seeing me put some codes in in a
I don't. How
second.
can you? How can you while you're on? You can't actually
I
do that.
know,
I
right?
don't think. Or is that a hint? So
No,
let's see.
I mean I consume some of the codes Shauna is giving out. Like, hold on,
Right.
let me put this in.
So I've got another one that I actually got contacted by. I think it was last night or this morning. Um, and I'm probably going to screw the name up on this, but NYX. So Nix, maybe Nix VX. It's a VR concert, is what it is. Experience. They're doing some testing and stuff, but it's actually a concert where live bands perform, and you can go and watch them, which is really cool because I don't have any audio playing because I don't know if their audio is monetized or not from this. But I can actually bring it up a little bit for a second here. But it seems pretty cool. Um, I'll bring it in. But I mean, if you want to go see like somebody performing live, maybe, or somebody playing in their garage, you could literally go in and listen to them and be with people. So I get it, but we do have some of this that has happened in, what is it, Altspace? Is it Altspace that was, or yeah, I think Altspace has done some things, but they do a lot more comedy stuff. But it's kind of cool. I mean, if you actually can get up on stage and it looks like the guitarist comes down from around back behind the stage and stuff. So it would be really cool if you could get some serious bands in. But this is like a grunge band type deal. Super cool though. I'm in. I love music, so I'd have a hard time not checking this out at least. What do you think? Are you into the music stuff or performance stuff at all, or aren't you really?
Oh man, I don't even want to go down that road. I actually like before I got into game development, I was an audio engineer, so music is near and dear to
Sure.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it is hard, I'm sure, to get quality audio projecting into, all the spatial audio and stuff. But I would think it would be possible. I mean, if you could have, I mean, I'm sure you could wire in somehow. You would probably know better than I would, but use your output as an input type deal for, the sound. But I don't
Yeah,
know. Be cool.
you're at the mercy of the API written
Mm,
for a lot of the technology that goes into this kind of thing. So,
right.
Unreal has Twitch streaming API, but so you're at the mercy of whatever it is, the compression rate, the
Sure.
whether or not it's stereo,
Yep.
um, but if you're a dev and you're working with the content directly, so like a lot of these beat games or a lot of like, harmonics games where they
Sure.
work with the artist directly to get that audio and develop the visualization around it, the sky's the limit there. But yeah, if you're bringing a bunch of people together to come together to do, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever codec or API you're utilizing.
Yeah. Have you watched any live concerts or any kind of live events at all in VR?
I have so very early into the VR age, ESPN was doing their. I think they partnered up with Intel, and they were doing kind of this trial, and I forget what they called it. It was like virtual point data or something,
Sure.
where they were doing football games. Like, so you had stadium view, you had this virtualized three-dimensional point data that they were projecting into the VR space. And then, of course, there's been a few concerts here and there that have been
Sure. Tried
done
on it, yeah.
through various different apps. So I think there's Oculus has theirs, PlayStation
Venue.
had a few.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
so
like it though? Like, do you feel yourself, or do you think it's a little gimmicky?
so here's the thing. I think I enjoy a lot of the user created content that goes onto YouTube that is made to be consumed by VR.
Sure.
I think some of it's better than others because the 360-degree uh,
Right. Videos are, yeah.
videos are hit and miss
Right.
depending on the quality
Sure.
that people have and also the production skills behind it. There's a group that I can't bring them. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I'll probably think of it later. But they're really good at that, even though the technology is really struggling to give you that clarity. Um, they're pretty decent at it, and there's a ton of their stuff up on the Oculus store. Uh, but the rest of the HMDs aren't, you know, they haven't been graced with that kind of content. So
Sure.
uh, the closest they get to it is YouTube videos that people upload, and you put it on, and you're like, I can barely see anything.
Right.
Um,
My favorite was this like personal performance done, and I don't even remember which headset this was, but and somebody might know. It might even been on a Go or a Gear VR. Was you were sitting in this guy's apartment, and he was sitting there like playing the guitar or something on a chair and trying to write music and smoking a ton of cigarettes, and he's like talking like behind you, and he's talking to his dog, sitting on the floor, and like you can hear like the reverberation of the room, like the sound echo in it, and it felt really cool. But like that's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy, that's like takes you into that personal aspect of it and getting to live it. And that, like, I do like this kind of stuff because I love concerts, but like I like that out of like body or doing something not the voyeurist, but you know what I mean? Like you couldn't like be behind the scenes like at a concert or on stage, with a DJ or something, like looking down at how he's doing it. That's the stuff that really does intrigue me. Um, just a little different, but close. I like all this kind of stuff. I do. I love music and stuff. I haven't done a whole lot of concerts. So I did the Post Malone one, I think, in venues or something. But I think that was about the last one I did. And Greg's VR said that he wants a mosh pit. He needs a mosh pit. So if he beaming, pleasure, cheers. But if yeah, Greg's VR. But I still want to see Greg's in there, man. He's always got all his jewelry on and stuff in Poker Stars. Kills me every time. Anyways, okay. I'm not keeping up with chat. I don't know if you are. I see you start to laugh over there, so I figure you're probably reading something.
yeah, I'm trying not to look down too much, but yes, I am trying to keep up with chat.
I know it's hard. So I think I do have it. Let me grab this here. The new Iron Man trailer dropped. Have you
Oh, my boys,
for
they're excited
PlayStation?
about this. My oldest one.
Right? It does look really good, man. The water looks great. It looks really polished. Because they actually show some real gameplay, like right there. Ooh.
Yeah, so they pushed this back a tad, and I think it was a good move.
I do too. The only thing I see is like watching some of this, it starts to look like Defector. It kind of reminds me of that scene where the plane, you jump out of it and stuff, and you're flying down and grab onto the other one and stuff. I don't know if I would have went that route with it, I guess, for a release trailer like this, just because, I don't know. But it looks awesome. I should let it play again. But what do you think? I know you'll probably pick it up just for your kids, at least minimum, right?
Yeah. So this is the trouble with VR, right? So with VR, like we're so conditioned with flat gaming to be about looks, right? And
Right, right.
that's what, like, so for us to look at it, you're like, man, it's kind of like Defector. But for me, what clicks with me and really really gets me is I have to separate myself from the experience that I'm seeing on a flat screen, right? and I have to put myself right there
Right.
where that's my hand, and
Experiencing it or thinking
that's
that. Yeah.
that's where
Yep.
I'm at in that time. And I'm telling you, when you're flying through the sky like that, and you're like, "Holy cow, I'm Iron Man!" uh, the visuals become an afterthought, and it's more about how does that game make you feel.
Sure.
That's what VR really is, and even in
It's
the
true.
social space, it's feeling. Like, how do you feel? What is the tactical feedback? How do the guns feel in your hands to hold them? It's all about feeling. How,
Right.
and Sean says it a lot. He's like, scary games, horror games are so real to him in that
Sure.
space. And, some people, that's heights. So
Right.
someone who's never skydived or never would dream of being that high up in the sky would jump in this thing and give them that courage to experience that and deliver it in a way that's very believable.
Sure.
And that could be like the best thing,
Yeah.
uh,
Experience
you
they
know,
could have never done because,
correct,
yeah, I get
correct,
that. Absolutely. And you remember those things too. Those
correct.
first times of doing things, especially in VR, you remember them. I still remember the final part of Arizona Sunshine. Sean and I were trapped up on the hill and stuff, and just all these zombies were coming at us and stuff. I will never, I don't think, ever forget that experience, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, you could never do that in real life, a helicopter come in and stuff. So cool.
My first experiences were low resolution DK2, but I will
Yeah,
tell you,
sure.
I will tell you the whenever I knew that horror was going to be huge for VR, and
Sure.
that was Dread Halls. It was a little tech demo. You could load up. You had a map, and you just wandered through, right?
Yep.
And then the next one where I knew that like VR legs was going to be a thing. And I eventually kind of it clicked about the motion sickness thing
Oh, right.
was Windlands.
Yep.
Just, you know,
Yeah, still, people love that
Spider-Man
game. Yeah.
around and
Yep.
Windlands. So,
Yep.
but yeah, it's great. And visuals are always going to matter to some people, so I don't want to take that away. But
Right.
I do want to say that when you're in there, it doesn't matter how pretty it is and how great it looks and how well of a presentation they did. If there's anything that rips you apart from that experience or makes you feel like you're not the one in control or you're not the one in the eyes of that
Right.
presentation, then that's where the disconnect happens. And that's whenever, you know,
So for me, I think the visuals more tend to matter with people who haven't played VR, right? So the people who watch
that's
the
right.
videos and come
That's right.
in and they're like, why doesn't it look polished? Or why doesn't I play these games? I play Call of Duty and this and that. And it should look like this, and I don't think they give it a chance to actually experience something and
Correct.
get critical about it. Um, oh, I see Aspen Darkfire. Cheers, man. I don't know if these alerts were on the last scene. Sorry about that. I just caught that. So, cheers, super chat. Appreciate that. And thank you for giving away so many codes. Yeah, that's on Sean today, man. He is all over that. Oh my gosh. He's got to be running out soon. I don't know what time it is, but he's got to be getting
And
there.
that's why I don't want to be so hard on the Horizon thing. Like I know
Right. I
it
know.
hits
I
you in
get
the
it. I
it
agree.
hits you in the gut, right?
I
It's
got.
like,
I know.
oh, because you have this
Yep.
expectation, and then you're like, but it's all about how it's gonna make me feel, and I got to keep
Sure.
reminding myself that,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. So one of the things that kind of just happened too is Oculus. When if you ever gone, which I know you have, when you're recording or streaming, you get that little red dot in the headset
Correct.
that's kind of like always floating there, takes away from what you're doing. They finally disabled that. I'm not 100% if it's just removable or it's gone completely, but I think that's a great thing. I hated that. I really did. That's the first thing when I started. I'm like, why would they do that? I don't know. It
It
drove
was
me
it was
crazy.
it was it was part of the app integration.
Sure.
Actually, that was there for other uh, mobile to PC type sharing too. It
Sure.
would put the little red dot there. I just think it was built in, and they never thought about, hey, this is right in people's face.
I know. It just stuff takes away. Like nobody wants to see a stuck figure there. It just doesn't work in VR. It kind of takes you out of it a little bit, at least for me.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Oh shoot, I had one more video too I want to show. Let's hop back over there. So, Here it is. So this is Ghost League VR. And if I have volume on this, I'll give you a little bit. Which we can watch this for a second. I don't think there's any... There's a little bit of music in it, but... have you
I'm
seen much on this
excited
yet?
already. Climbing.
Right?
I
Yeah,
love
exactly.
climbing VR. Yeah.
Yep.
Just,
Yeah, I'll leave the audio out. I don't think there's any game audio. But it looked, yeah, exactly. Climbing and stuff. It just like we talked about earlier. You got to give people the
oh
chance to do what they
man.
want to do, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good sense of speed. Oh yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Pretty cool, right? I
yeah.
mean, and I don't feel like this would make people as motion sick. I mean, it gives you that like, okay, I'm gonna go that way. I'm gonna do this. A little bit of preventative and maybe needs a little bit of the blinder deal on for some people, which I don't like. But kind of cool, right? Different concept.
Correct. See, and it might, and I don't want to be biased, right? And
Sure.
I've been dealing with VR since the DK1, DK2 age. And early on, your experiences, they do like you want to move slower, you want to turn slower. You got to develop this
You do. Yep.
this,
Your VR
getting
legs.
used to what VR is.
Yep.
And you and Sean were like, "You gonna put jump and drop in?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know if I should do that."
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, people may or may not use it." So now I got trampolines in there. So
Right.
so
So you can
whatever.
if you want to,
But
yeah.
I've realized like these games where you move and fly and climb and it gives you that extra sense of activeness. Like
Yep.
even Iron Man, you're flying around, you're moving at like huge speeds, right?
Right.
As VR gamers mature, they're pushing against that boundary of what was first thought to be said, you don't do this in VR.
Right.
Now it's like that's what they want to do. And it goes back to what you always talk about is like sometimes people just want to push that boundary of what they know they can and can't do, you
Yep.
know?
At least dip their feet in. And if they like it,
Correct.
then do it.
Correct.
You don't have to. Nothing says that. But yeah, To the Top. This does look like a little bit like To the Top and stuff.
I
Yeah,
love
it
it
does.
though. I love those
Right.
kind of games like,
Yep.
Sprint Vector, by the way, if you guys have
Right.
never checked that out, it is very similar to that kind of a game style of gameplay.
So what's your game? Like, what's your go-to game right now? Like, if you were to get off here and say, "Hey, I'm gonna play something, not your own stuff, but what would you play?"
Oh, man. That's such an unfair question.
It's a loaded question,
So
right?
so I'll be honest with you. I play a lot of games, right?
Sure.
And I do it for two reasons. One is
Not for research though. Not for research though. For fun. For fun
well,
only.
it, that well, I hate
It's
to
hard,
sound
right?
like I hate to sound this way, but for me, fun is
True.
seeing fun is kind of getting inspiration from what other people are doing and
Right.
not and like being surprised. There are some games where it's like the overall goal or the overall vision of the game maybe wasn't all that great, and it might be something on Steam, and I'm not going to mention any names that got pretty poor ratings.
Oh,
But
sure.
I jump in and I play the game, and I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that they did this because there's AAA games out right now that didn't pull this part of what they're doing off as well as this indie developer
Hmm.
that maybe didn't get such a great score or good reviews, but a certain aspect of their game really nailed or innovated in a way that you know, you just did not expect. So
Sure.
honestly, whenever I jump in and I play games, like I go through Steam and there's a ton. Most people don't know this, but there are a ton of free to play experiences
Oh.
on Steam.
Oh, there's a ton. You literally, I tell people that all the time. You don't have to buy anything. Like, you can
Mm-mm.
buy this headset, any headset, even the Quest, and
Yep.
download tons of free stuff and see what you like. They're always like, "What's the first thing I should buy?" I'm like, "Nothing. Try
Yep.
this. See what you
And
like.
and
See
and
what
I have a
stuff."
challenge for you. Don't look at the screenshots. Don't watch the trailers. Like
Right. That's true.
any, mini, miny, pick a day of the week and go any, mini, miny, mo down that list
It's a good point.
and and download that thing, jump in it, give it 5 minutes of your time. It's not going to waste time for
Right.
you. It's 5 minutes, right?
Right.
You have that, uh, and I guarantee you will walk away surprised by some aspect. It
Yep.
might not be your thing, but it's almost like playing Russian roulette with no loss. There is no risk
Sure.
other than the 5 minutes of your time.
Well, my
But
thing, like
but
I play, so if I
you
play a,
come away and get to say, "Hey,
right,
this
you did
thing did
this.
this really well,"
Right.
and the rest of it could be garbage, you know.
Sure.
So it's
Right, true. So we play a lot of shooters, obviously. You know that, everyone knows that. But I can have as much fun playing Standout or Virtual Battlegrounds as I do Half-Life Alyx. You know, a
correct,
AAA game compared to games that, aren't AAA, obviously, but are great games. So at the end of the night, I still have just as good a time playing those as I do Half-Life Alyx. So that
correct,
shows the visuals. Like when you look at that, Half-Life Alyx trailer, it looks beautiful. Even for flat, it's beautiful, right? So the other games, when you look at them, you go, yeah, as a flat gamer, I don't really see an interest in this, but you can have just as much fun in them. So
correct.
it's a good point, just look at the images and stuff, but it's hard, man. Even that can look flat, or just dead compared to what flat games actually look like. So
Correct.
it is tough. I know.
Yeah,
So,
it goes back to that feeling. Like I wouldn't say from a gameplay aspect that Alex is mind blowing, right? So you get
right.
in there and you have a gun. You can't drop your gun.
Right.
You have two
Yeah,
storage
yeah.
locations.
They're not pushing
Uh,
boundaries on
yeah,
stuff. Right.
they played it very safe.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, but the thing that they did that they realized that I think the flat gaming community is gonna take a little bit to get over that hurdle, but the VR community really knows like this is like we're getting to that place where we're starting to understand this. Uh, the way that it made you feel, Half-Life Alex made you feel a certain way, and it looked cool when they show video clips of people scooting buckets out of the way and
Right, right, right. Yeah,
that physics interaction.
sure.
But that is like an understatement to the way that that game makes you feel when you're in there and you're the one pushing those buckets around, or you're the one writing on a
Yep,
marker board, or
yep.
you're the one feeding a little
I know.
animal and you can feel the tactile. When you're the one that puts your hands up against a wall and those hands simulate into that wall, but
Yep.
yet you're not you don't feel drunken and clumsy and bumping into
Yeah,
every
yeah.
little thing. You know,
Yep.
that game made you feel very much a part of that experience, and then on top of that, they were able to deliver with the fidelity, the visual
Oh,
fidelity
yeah.
for like lighting and darkness
Audio,
and audio
all
and
kinds of, yeah.
yeah, so they blew it away. And I'm bite-sized baby piece in that game. I still haven't finished it
Right. See, me
because
neither. We were talking about that last night. I keep
yeah,
saving it because I like it. It's great.
yeah,
And I don't want to burn it all up in one day.
correct,
I
correct.
just I don't like doing that. There's other games I want to play too that are
Yeah.
current, and this Half-Life Alyx isn't going out of style anytime soon. So,
I'll look at Half-Life and I'll look at Skyrim and I'll be like, I really want a game today, so I'm gonna jump on Skyrim. Like
right.
I will not put that time into that game just to savor it. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
I know. Yep. So, where was Oh, um hand tracking for Oculus Quest. They are coming out with now third party games, official kind of releases now on Oculus, which is pretty cool. What do you like the hand tracking? Or do you think it's a little gimmicky? I
so
I don't find it great for like games, right? But like
I think
experiences, maybe?
I think so. Hand tracking to me is a necessary step, but it's kind of like the way that the index turned out to be towards the touch controller, right? So I love index controllers, especially in the Steam ecosystem. Like I see that there's a place for Vive wands, but as a developer, the Vive wand is uh it's a love hate thing. I love it because of the ease of use, and people see it, and it's like, oh, it's a
Right, right.
trackpad, one button, and it, it brings people into that ecosystem, the VR ecosystem. It is a very
Easier.
easy
Sure.
to pick up and play with, and people
Yep.
aren't intimidated by it.
Well, I talked about, well, like my dad tried it, right? The index controllers and stuff couldn't work like a regular. If I gave him like a regular gaming controller, it's tough. If you don't do it, you just don't know it. And I can give him a set of index controllers, and no problem. You almost don't even need to
Correct.
explain it. So
Correct.
that's it is. You're right. It's that good transition point. And
Correct.
hand tracking is an even easier transition, but I feel like the inputs aren't as precise. And I
As
feel
as
that's where
as
that fine line is.
as gamers, you and I, like, we talk about how much we like the touch controller, and I'm
Mm,
pretty sure I'm
right.
accurate that, like, Sean likes
Yep.
the Oculus touch controller as
Yep.
well. As gamers, we've been conditioned to like that physical feedback from pushing buttons. And when I
Correct.
grip on with the touch controller, I know my grip has been made. And I know that Valve did a really good job with the haptic feedback
Right.
on the index controllers, but for me it's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Like it's great. I love the controller. I like the ergonomics. I think it's comfortable. It's just it's not good
I know.
enough. And but it is the best thing you have in the Steam ecosystem.
Right.
Hand tracking, for me, I think it's necessary, and it's something that we need to continually look down that road and innovate with. But I think where hand tracking is really going to shine for Oculus is whenever the Quest starts to become the road for corporate America to
Sure.
move into VR space without with those business individuals having the appearance and the presentation necessary for a business environment.
Sure.
You cannot throw input devices into
Right.
someone's hands,
Or
even
teach
when you
them.
yeah
You can't
whenever
take the
you're
time, to teach them.
when you see someone giving a presentation and they have that laser pointer and they go to these Toastmaster trainings and stuff, they're told, no knife handing and
Right.
keep your thumb in
Yep.
I work in corporate
No
America. I'm very
attacking, like
correct.
hand gestures. Yeah.
I'm very familiar with all of the training involved in you know uh giving a proper presentation of what they would call a professional business etiquette presentation.
Right.
And for Quest to make it in that market space, hand tracking has to be a thing. And for you to be able to slap a headset on someone, kind of like, they thought the Go was going to be that thing,
Sure. Right.
but they realized that hand input, they literally designed the Go controller around a laser pointer because they thought it was going to do that.
Right.
I can look at that HMD and their design and the input device they gave, the one that they gave, and totally it makes sense to me from a marketing standpoint and from what they were trying to do. So for the Quest to be like, hey, we're just gonna toss the controllers to the side and we're gonna do this hand tracking thing, that's it's gonna take the gaming community and the people developing software and stuff like that for hand tracking and the interest there to really allow the business community to pick that up and say,
Sure.
hey, we can do this with it.
And I think it's good for people too that don't know VR. So let's give it to somebody older, who doesn't. It's easy for them to throw on and not have to think about it. They can interact with what they're in. Yeah, an enterprise just for ease, of not having to know controllers or worry about controllers. But for
Correct.
gamers need that on and off. And you're right. That's where the index starts to, you have that finger movement, so you don't have an on-off grip. It's there's that in between part that screws things up. And we talked about it even with drop in. I told you I just didn't at one point. This was way long ago that I felt like the grip points and the pickup points for index were just too close to being grabbing too hard, and you have to worry so
Correct.
much about that. So
Correct.
it's tough. I get it. So gamers are gonna always like a button press, no matter
Yep.
what. Just like the touch, a
And
grip on and off.
you're in the middle of an ecosystem shift. I think our thing with that was the Steam VR input had just kind of did their thing, and then you
Sure.
had Legacy and Steam VR input, which
Yep.
a lot of games even today, you go back, like The Forest I think still runs on Legacy, and I'll load up a lot of games, and they use the Steam VR input binding, but they're all in legacy mode. So things like your dead zone adjustments don't work, and uh, you load up the game and you grip on the index, and you're like, I'm gonna break my controller
Right.
trying to grab this
Right.
thing,
Exactly. My hands
So
hurt. They're all red from trying to hold them.
correct, and
Yep.
that's the difficulty, or I guess that's the complexity that that type of design threw into the market, that you just don't have that issue with touch. No
Right.
matter what, even if you set the dead zone for the analog button to 99.9%,
Sure.
when you push that button all the way down, it's pressed.
Yep. Yep. You do.
And and
There's no
that's
doubt. Yeah, it's not going to accidentally release if it thinks your fingers moved or something. Right. If
correct,
it's down, it's down.
correct.
Yep. And that's why I still like the touch. I mean, for gaming as a whole, those controllers are just superior. I really
Correct.
feel that way. Now, I like my index because the tracking, I love the tracking, I love the headset. So I'm going to index controller still, but
And see,
it's
my
hard.
wife has a Rift S,
Sure.
and I'll jump in that thing to test, and think she cuts my dev time in half because she'll just jump in and play with the Rift S,
Yep.
and she gives me feedback on how things feel and how things work and all of that stuff, and it is an LCD panel, it's not OLED, but the black levels are really impressive. I
Yep.
have to say, regardless of everything, tracking included, uh, it is probably better than any WMR tracking that I've tried. The Rift S is,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
and it's
Sure.
it's it's it's
Yeah.
slightly better than the behind the back tracking that the Quest gives you. They're both, I want to say, identically tracked.
Right.
The algorithm that's doing everything for those cameras out in front of you,
And with
uh,
one less camera, too.
correct, is the same. So the only
Right.
difference you're getting is the Rift S has a broader range because of the additional camera for it to do the kind of over
Right.
the head, behind the back type of thing.
Right.
But that is such a great device. I have to give it to Zuckerberg and Oculus on what they did price point wise,
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
the technology they're giving you.
Yep, I agree.
It's
Yeah, for that price point, I mean, they're not making much on this. I mean, they're wanting to get it out there and sell software, which obviously is king, but yeah, I mean, they kind of have to, don't they? I mean,
That's right.
to push something new, if they really want to make this grow into something that's mass adopted, they kind of have to give it away.
And Steam stats, they released their stats last month. It
Sure.
shows. It
Right.
shows. The
Yeah.
Rift S is killing it.
Right. I
It is
know.
killing
I
it.
mean, at that price point, why not pick it up for a PC headset? You can't compare. You really can't. For how close it is. I know it's not index, but it's still an awesome headset.
It really is.
Let's see. Were there any other big things I wanted to talk about? Contractors beta is actually open to the public, I heard, which is really cool. We were kind of talking about contractors last night and talking about a bunch of shooters late last night. You actually got to play, right? Contractor on Quest,
Yes.
was it?
Yes.
Yep.
So, I do the whole side load thing. Part of that is uh, doing a lot of like builds for the projects I'm working on, to see how they run on Quest
Sure.
and see how they're going to migrate over. So, um, I load a few of those things like King. I think the Rocky game. What is it? It's not King of the Fight.
Creed? You mean an actual Rocky game?
It's the boxing game.
Creed. You
So
mean, yeah.
Creed.
Rise to Glory. Yeah.
So I want to say I did that before their demo. They had like a little teaser build or whatever, and then of course like they have the side load uh, of Pavlov and a couple of other games that you can load up. So I do a lot of that to see like what the Quest ecosystem is doing,
Sure.
what new devs are coming up
Yeah,
with.
absolutely.
I didn't get a chance to load into the tech demo with the finger tracking that you guys
Yeah.
were
Yep.
explaining.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but I got like going back to that subject of finger tracking. I got to give them props because here's the thing. I don't know if you or Sean's ever messed around with HoloLens or any early alpha builds of that, working within industry, Microsoft's done a pretty good job of.
I've been in it. I've been in it, but it's been a while for me. I mean, it was shortly after they first came back. I went and did a like a demo of it, and
Now, here's the thing: did you mess around with any of their hand tracking, finger tracking
no,
type
no, no, no,
technology?
nope.
My Oculus is leaps and bounds. Like I will tell you that the little bit that I got my hands on with their finger tracking stuff and their leaps and bounds
Really,
be. The reason HoloLens hasn't taken off is because of the lag and the latency between how they're handling
sure.
the hand tracking.
And showing up in the headset and stuff. See, for
Yeah,
me, the only issue with the HoloLens, with the hugest issue for me, was the screen size. I just couldn't take that little screen looking through them and it not being what I felt like was my whole world. Like if you turned your head, the things disappeared into nowhere. And
yeah,
that's the part that bothered me because doing VR for so long, everywhere you look, it's just what it is where you look.
yeah.
So that was the hard for me.
Most people have an inconceived notion of what they believe HoloLens is
Right.
from what
Right. What they show.
what they're trying to portray to you.
Yep.
But how can I explain this in a way that makes sense? Oh, so your field of view in the Oculus headset are like an index, right? Right now, like with Pimax, we're trying to get taller and wider, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Where your cutoff point is, it's just black. It's like looking through ski goggles. It's black on the edges. You don't have anything. You can't see nothing. Like that's the edge
Right.
of your
Vision.
display.
Yeah.
With HoloLens, you're looking into the real world, and imagine that where those black corners are, it's like whenever you're just being cut off
Right.
from whatever it is you're looking at.
Right. Right. Right.
And then take that field of view, which is around 110, and shrink it down to like 45 to 60,
Sure.
because that's what you have.
Yep.
That's what
Exactly.
that's the best that they can give you right
It
now.
is, and I just don't even feel it's usable. I
And
don't. I
it,
mean,
and the other thing is like the hand tracking on a Quest is almost instantaneous. Like when you play around with that thing and you
mm,
move your fingers, it is
one to
literally
one almost. Yeah.
1 to 1.
Yep.
In HoloLens, it is almost 2 seconds to a second and a half
No,
delayed
come on. How
between
could they
what
even
you
push
do.
that out as usable though?
It's a great question. I don't even know. I don't
Holy
even
crap.
know. Like, and see that I messed around with it last year, and I don't even
Now,
understand how
was
the
this
videos.
one or two? Because I used one. Was this the
Two,
second gen?
yes,
Oh, really? It's still at
yes,
that point.
and
Oh
and
my
it was a promotional HMD that it was
Sure.
on display for enterprise use within
Hmm.
the major company that I work for. So it I got lucky, and you know certain individuals found out that I was working within the VR space, and on the side, they were like, "We'd like to demo this to you,"
Right.
and I checked it out, and I love where it's going. I,
Right.
I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah. I
I
love the
can't,
technology and all of it, but man, at
I
that
can't be
limited
mad.
field of view, oh,
I
no
can't be,
friggin' way.
I can't be mad at Microsoft for doing it, and I
Oh no,
love their
right.
little tech demos and what they've shown up on stage that they're when they did their TED stuff.
So do you think this whole thing then with HoloLens scared them out of doing anything for Xbox VR wise?
I I do. And
Like
see
burn them kind of?
that's the sad part of it is Microsoft is like they want to own they like they want to own whatever it is that the innovation is.
Right.
and
Own the
un- and,
technology.
and
Right.
unfortunately VR is not
No.
that space.
It's
And
like owning a smartphone. Like own the technology for the smartphone. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Same
and
principle.
and 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 Palmer Lucky beat him to the punch, and then of course another tech giant got a hold of that, and we have Oculus today, and
Right.
I'm not bad about that. I'm great.
Right.
I love that, but Microsoft was like, well, VR isn't ours, but we do have all of this knowledge from the Kinect and the Xbox 360
Mm.
and motion tracking and all of this stuff. And if anybody remembers, the Kinect there was a little bit
Oh,
of there was a little bit of latency there between what
true.
you saw on the TV and stuff.
But Connect was
So
big. I mean, it had its day, Wasn't
and
huge, but
correct. And my I played with it. My family played with it.
Right.
For what it was impressive.
Exactly.
So I can see why Microsoft was like, well, we're gonna do our own little thing and go in our own direction. Um, because they have a lot of intelligent minds behind all of that space. But I will admit that I think that the cost involved, the marketing involved, what their aspiration was, and where they are today, uh, made them kind of take a step back
Sure.
and say
Let the
WMR
technology get ahead.
WMR is as far as we're going to go with it.
Right.
Like I do believe that that's kind of what happened. And
Oh,
and
but
what's strange is that I had people telling me like the next Xbox is gonna they're gonna look at a partnership with Oculus
sure.
I had people that were devs that were telling me that we may see the Rift S on the next Xbox and so and then you have Spencer come out and basically is like, our
Turn it all
audience just
down.
is, yeah, they're not asking for it,
Right. So do you think though that are they going to push even like a second gen WMR headset, or are they kind of done with that too? I mean, like a true, new controllers, are they going to just be like a peripheral company
Well,
instead of making their own?
Valve is working with a very well
Hmm.
known WMR
Right.
manufacturer now.
Yep.
Um,
I'm trying to think of that. We talked about that a while back.
is it
Is
the
it Acer? Was it
uh,
Acer? Look,
is it Reverb?
I forget now. I don't know. Sean will
It
probably
might
pop in the
it
chat. He's
might
probably
be
working.
Acer. If anybody knows, yeah,
I
bring
think
it up.
I think it was Acer from what I remember. But
It might be.
it could have been.
I thought it might have been an HP headset at one point in time,
Oh,
but yeah.
maybe it
So
is. Yeah.
they're molding the. I want to say the reason they're doing this is they're bringing together the WMR
Yep.
and the Steam
Oh, so it
ecosystem.
was HP. VR Sprague, I said HP. Yeah, it was one of the two. So it was HP probably. Yeah, I mean, at a point, if you're not on top, you bring all the small companies together to group into one, and you can kind of become a larger entity, without owning it or putting in the research and stuff. So I get it. I don't know. It's not where I wish it went.
I think it's a smart move
Sure, I agree. Right.
because I know that Valve recognizes that and again, I don't want to talk bad about HTC, but I think that Valve recognizes that of the uh, motion tracking technologies out there that are not Oculus, because they can't really go to Oculus and be like, "Hey, let's team up."
Right, right, right. Yeah.
It would be nice if they did, the
Sure it would.
two big dogs,
They
but
could, but they won't.
so Oculus is very much like they're like Microsoft. They're like, we want to do our own thing. So
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I have to give Microsoft props for going, you know what? Yeah,
Stand their ground.
bring WMR into the alternative
Right.
uh uh
Ecosystem or world,
ecosystem
whatever.
of
Yeah.
Steam. Like if you
Right.
don't have Steam trackers, we'll be a excuse me, we'll be a Steam VR headset, but if you don't have Steam trackers, then WMR kicks in for you.
Right. Sure.
So
I get that.
I have to
Yep.
applaud them
It's
for
kind of
that.
what Pimax does with PyTool, and
Right.
even that imports all of your Steam games, your Oculus games, all into their one software where you don't really have to worry about anything else and stay in there and it does what it needs to do depending on what you have connected to it. So I like the idea of that. I do. I just don't know if
I can't
it's
remember. Is PyTool is non-subscription based though,
right.
right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like
PyTool's
what
included. Yeah.
it's kind of like what Viveport used to be. Remember before Viveport
Sure.
became the
Sure.
you know
Yep.
which is I'm not down in it. It's a great value if people want to just kind of like flutter through games that
Right. Sure.
you know. Um,
Try stuff. I get that.
I, yeah, it's just there's so many experiences on Steam and other areas that for me, I I don't have time for another uh, you know, I
Something else
guess
to try.
ecosystem that's going to be
I know.
tossing all
I
these
get it.
experiences at me.
I know. It's how it always goes. I mean, it'll dwindle down. Eventually, it'll narrow itself down to probably two or maybe three at best. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is. It's hard. All right, so one more thing before we do go. You were talking a little bit now, and you brought this to my table. You heard that Elysium was kind of backing out of their alpha, right? Which we were kind of excited about, and I think you were too.
Yes, yes.
I,
So
it's too bad
it was
though.
it was a double-edged sword for me because Elysium is doing a lot of kind of what drop in is you know is heading in that direction
Sure,
to kind of toss the kitchen sink in at this thing.
sure. And this is
And
dropping. By the
I've
way, I'll
had
just let it play.
I've had a lot of excitement around the fact that Elysium was like the closest thing to a VR GTA, and they were
Hmm.
touting things like, and yeah, I don't want to bash on them. They
Right,
probably have enough heat as it is. If you go
they do.
out
Yeah.
to Reddit
Oh
and
man, yeah.
their Kickstarter and
Yep.
YouTube feedback, all of that. I don't want to bash them. But you have eyes, go read on it. They touted things like 500 player per server,
Yeah.
which is like
We know it's
come
impossible. Come
yeah,
on,
like
man. Like,
even with a flat game, you are
yeah,
you Fortnite is the epitome of what everyone is trying to be,
correct.
and if Fortnite struggles with that, and they have the money they have and
Oh, for
minds they have
server.
on
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
it just
You're
that
not
shows
gonna top that by
right.
5 times. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's not
And
happening.
and not to mention a VR character, there's and I don't want to get too technical and over everybody's heads, but when you track two controllers and an HMD on one character, you're tracking the locational position and replicating that across a network. It's like having three characters for every one person, so you're three times more expensive on the network load. Uh,
Right?
and you're trying to compress that down for every player, right?
Yeah.
So, so there was some things that were mentioned that you just kind of knew, and I think enough of those flags were going off for people to
Yeah.
where they were asking questions, and they were like, "Is this real? Are these people really going to deliver on this?"
Yeah.
You know, and my thing is like, I hope they do. It may not, they may not get to the point where
Of
I
all
think
of
that
that.
they were
Right.
trying to sell people on,
I agree.
but and they probably fell victim to something that a lot of us indie devs or dev studios that are trying to build up,
Yeah, you want to achieve something great and you want to do something epic, but
and
it's
if you
come
don't
on.
watch it, you'll fall victim to what I call the monster, and
Sure.
that you get trapped in this place
Focus.
where you have a goal, you have a vision, you need resources,
Hmm.
and you start pulling in overhead, and your output doesn't keep up with the overhead. So your contractors are an expense, your
Right.
resources are an expense, your assets are an expense,
Yep.
and if you can't keep up with that overhead by making up for it by either like what they're doing with Kickstarter campaigns,
Sure.
crowdfunding, investors, then you end up in a situation like they're in where they may have 20, 30, 40% of their game done, but they 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 fell victim to the monster. They built that hype train up so large that
They
unless they
yeah.
got a team as talented as like say
Sure.
Rockstar, Ubisoft, or someone like Node who's been developing
Yeah.
VR games for a while,
They'll never deliver.
they'll never deliver it.
Nope.
That's right.
It won't come to table. It won't ever. And it is, yeah, you're right. And they get stuck in that. And then at a point, you just got to pull the plug because what you've told everybody for the last year or two isn't what it is. So
Right.
it's too bad. I get it. But yeah, it
Yeah, and,
happens.
and and I don't even know. It was like kind of like it was leaking out of the rumor mill. Oh, they're gonna cancel their alpha. They're gonna cancel their. And the other
Right.
people were like, no, no, they've announced this. They've put it off, and this is what's going on. And then boom, they canceled the alpha. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So it's
I
you
know.
know,
Yep, it happens. It happens to more devs than probably people even know, too, working on games and stuff, and they just kind of disappear into the dark, which is too
yeah,
bad. Because in the
which will
VR, we
never.
need that, sort
Yeah,
of,
that's
but
right. Which Data Night's been there. I've been working on it for 2 years. I like the keys will be there. It will be up. You will be able to play it. It may not be progressing as fast as other projects that I'm
right,
working on,
right.
but it will always. I'm not gonna pull the plug
It'll
on
always be
it.
there.
It'll always be
Right,
there.
sure.
Yeah.
Why not? Exactly. Yep.
So
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's about it for everyone. You playing anything this weekend? Playing any VR
Um,
or you working on
I
stuff?
me and my wife got the new it's kind of like Mario Kart. Um, and we jumped in it a few times, and you get a little chicken and you get a soda cup and it
Yeah,
turns red,
that's cool.
and you get the I forget what the name it's is
Yeah,
what is it is something carts.
yeah, it is.
uh
I forget
Man,
now too. Yeah, it is. It's like identical to Mario, basically identical to
it
Mario Kart.
is, and it's
Right.
it's a lot of fun. So we played that. We do a lot of Vivecraft. We've done a few
Sure.
series episodes, streams of that.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it. Um, Synth Riders has done a few updates. So
Sure.
believe it or not, we're getting huge enjoyment out of doing the multiplayer for Synth Riders.
Oh, cool.
Uh,
Yeah, sure. A
so
lot of people love synth riders, man. I've never gotten into it really. Um,
my wife is making tracks for it now.
isn't
So
that
it's
cool? There you
like
go. Yeah,
what?
that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's very
yeah.
cool. All right. Well, we should wrap it up. I know we've run a little bit, but thank you, Jason, so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah,
It was
time.
really cool. Sean had family and stuff in, so he couldn't be in here. So you were the first one I went to. Very knowledgeable. And I'm glad you didn't get too harsh into the technical stuff because I know it can be tough, but people were
Yeah.
liking it in chat. So that's awesome. So really do appreciate that. Make sure you check out his stuff. Somebody was just asking, is drop in free to play or open to public now? And I'll let you go ahead and answer it real quick.
Yeah, so currently we're on the 3 to 5 day review from Steam.
Sure.
It is free to play and it will be free to play forever. That's never going to change. So
Nice.
it is and I released a thank you to everyone with kind of the details on all of that, but I'll try to condense it into a summary, keep it short and sweet. So basically, it's early access, free to play core right now. So um, over the course of development, we had a few conversations with Tyler and Sean and Tim, and we kind of we had this path where we wanted to give you very limited gameplay options,
Sure.
apocalypse
Sure.
mode,
Yep.
you know, and deathmatch, team deathmatch, all of that type of stuff. And then as we played, we realized that like the liberating and the freedom and all of the stuff that was bringing enjoyment to people, and we were seeing what things like VR chat and Trouble in Terrorist Town and Pablo was doing.
Yep.
So we adjusted to meet what we feel the market demand is, and that is very low entry level. So people want to be able to get into whatever
Yep.
really quickly,
And
and the
social.
freedom,
Social,
yeah,
man. It's all
and
social.
the free to play
So
market
good.
and this and the sandbox experience is something that we thought, hey, we'll grow our community, we'll get testers in that are able to test things and give us ideas and give us
Yep.
feedback and kind of and feed us information, feed us ideas, feed us priorities, tell us what it is you want to do.
Right.
um,
Give the people the tools to make their own game
correct,
experiences, you know?
correct,
Oh, I
and
know.
that goes into everything as far as like workshop support, leaderboards,
Yep.
Steam plugins.
Yep.
I don't want to give away too much, but
No, don't. Yeah.
there's some things I'm looking at with social media outside of what people expect
Yep.
to be able to do in a VR scape. But so you will have free to play forever, and
Yep.
and right now it's early access. That core is going to have some edge cases, a little bit of bugs, but you'll jump in and immediately you're going to be like, hey, I can throw frisbees, I
Yep.
can mess around with this soccer ball, I
Oh
can
man, yeah.
play mini golf and pool and all of that kind of stuff. And all of the free stuff we're going to continue to work on until like the end of 2021. So
Nice.
you don't have to worry about being hit
Charge
with,
later or something. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
we're not going to be monetizing this thing unless you guys tell us
Sure.
drop something that is this and I will pay you for it.
Right.
So that's the direction that we're heading. And
And
I do have a list of actual milestones that we are aiming to hit.
nice.
And tower defense, team deathmatch, heist, and regular deathmatch are those milestones, and they'll be worked on in parallel with the free to play core until 2021. And that's where the DLC, anything that's going to be $5, $10, whatever, that will come at that time frame. So now
Nice.
it's just a matter of getting to know you guys coming in, giving us feedback,
Yep.
playing around in that sandboxy space. I've had great feedback from Checkers, by the way. It's such a
Yep, that's cool.
small game,
I
but
know little things, man. Sometimes, yeah.
people have told me they prefer to drop in and play Checkers than to go to some of the other
Oh yeah.
available VR games to play
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's
Very
great
cool.
feedback. I appreciate that, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
So
we love it. We love being in there and just having fun. That's what literally it's all about to us. So we really appreciate you giving us a place too to go do that.
oh
It's
yeah,
awesome.
and
Very
and
cool.
that's me too. I wanna enjoy it. So
Right,
I'm not gonna
exactly. You want
lie.
to do what
Like
you want to do in there too, you
that's
know?
I get in
Yep.
there and I'm like, you know,
Yep.
I wanna be. I, the thing about it is with making games for me is like if I can enjoy myself in that space
Right.
and I can have a great time, that's what matters to me. Like before anything else.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you know,
For sure. That's awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you again, man. It's so cool. I'm so glad
oh
you
yeah,
came on.
yeah. I'd
Really
love
do
to come
appreciate
back
it.
like anytime.
Absolutely.
Tell Sean like just let me know.
I'm sure he's watching. You know, he can't be on, but I know he's in chat. He can't stay away. I get it. But
So,
really appreciate everybody else being here, all the likes, all the love. And I tried joining in chat as much as I could, but it was a little hard. I haven't run this in a while, so I'm making sure I don't screw up for you guys. And we'll catch you next time. And I'll throw a link too in the description to your Discord too, if you'd like,
yeah, sounds
to drop in Discord too. So
yep.
keep an eye out for that. But again, thanks everybody for being here, and we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good one.
See you guys. Maybe if I have the outro.